morning, Raider Nation. I'm Dirty D from Dirty T. I'm the Punk Rock Raider. Welcome to another edition of the Punk Rock Raider. Wanted to do a quick episode today before the games. This is a big weekend for Raider Nation because all signs seem to be pointing to we're going to hire someone that is coaching today. One of the assistants. And it came out today that we're expected to have a second interview with Broncos quarterback coach Davis Webb. There's a lot of smoke around Davis Webb. There's also a lot of smoke around Clay Kubiak, and then we are also rumored to be interested in Chris Shula, as well as Mike LaFleur, the offensive coordinator for the Rams. I wanted to talk about Davis Webb today because there's been a lot of rumors around Davis Webb to the Raiders. Raiders reporter that has a YouTube show, who I watch their show quite a bit, actually. They do a lot of rumors. They talk about just about anything there is to talk about. Even if there isn't something to talk about, they usually talk about it, and they do have some inside sources, it seems. And sometimes they give some really good information. Sometimes, hey, like, that's the nature of the job. You can't fault someone for that. But they said after a discussion with their source that they think Davis Webb sounds exactly like the guy the Raiders are looking for because of the fact, apparently looking for a young offensive-minded head coach, an innovative offensive-minded head coach. And I hear a lot of people talking about Davis Webb. I had to give my full thoughts on Davis Webb. I talked a little bit about Davis Webb over the last couple of videos. I just gotta say it. What the fuck are we doing? What? I really hope we don't actually hire Davis Webb. Vetting him out the process is fine, and I'm not even saying that I don't think Davis Webb will ever be a successful head coach. I think he absolutely can be a successful head coach. I just think he's the biggest boom or bust prospect of all the coaches available. And I'm going to go over again a little bit of his history and kind of the rumors I've heard around Davis Webb and people that would maybe come with him. But if you don't know, he was a quarterback at Texas Tech under Cliff Kingsbury around the same time as Patrick Mahomes. He lost his job to Patrick Mahomes, transferred to Cal, was drafted in the third round by the Giants. I think he only was there for like a year before getting cut. Then he went to the Bills on their practice squad mostly when Brian Dable was offensive coordinator and Josh Allen was there as their quarterback. And then in 2022, he went back over to the Giants when Dable was head coach. And that was the year that Daniel Jones had his best season with the Giants. And then since 2023, he has been the Broncos quarterback coach. And this past year, he became their passing game coordinator. If you're keeping up, that's 3 years of coaching experience total. Some say that when he was with the Giants, give me 1 second, I'm cracking up a cold one before the game. Hey man, I like to drink beer while I watch football. I got the Four Peaks brewery pack. Got an Albertsons for like $13.99 for 15 beers, man. It's a pretty good deal. I think it's running to the 27th day if you're into that. Into some good savings for some beer, man. I am. Anyway, back on track. After my sidebar there. There was talk that his final year, he was like a player's coach in 2022, and that was Daniel Jones' best year. But he's only coached for 3 years. And, like, it's weird. Like, the Bo Nix conversation's weird because in the same breath, like, people will talk about how well he's played the past 2 years, but also how he's not actually a good quarterback and he hasn't really played that well. He just like has moments, and the Broncos are this weird fluky team. Like how he's like Schrodinger's quarterback, like Schrodinger's franchise quarterback. He's both a franchise quarterback and not at the same time. I don't know. It's weird. Um, I like Davis Webb. I liked him when he was coming out. He was like always an interesting lower depth chart guy. He's actually someone I think I had used as a starter before, like Madden. And I thought it was really cool when he started getting into the coaching ranks. Like I think it's great. I think he can absolutely be an excellent coach, but there's 3 years of experience. Just as like that would be an outlier of all outliers for him to be a successful head coach after 3 total years of coaching experience, and he's going to jump right into a head coaching position after being a quarterbacks coach. Like, what are we doing? And then when you look at some of the rumors as well, this Raiders reporter said, "Oh, it sounds like they really like Davis Webb because they want a young, innovative offensive mind." He's young. I'm not saying he's not innovative, but the rumors are he would want to bring Cliff Kingsbury or Brian Dable as his offensive coordinator. Now, are those substantial rumors or just people trying to connect dots? I don't know. But I assume if he's bringing one of those guys, they're calling the offense. They're probably a big part of designing the offense. So is he innovative if it's not his offense? To me, that puts him more in the CEO coach mold, which I do hear people really like his leadership skills. People like his communication skills. They think he'd be a good CEO. Okay, that's great. We get in this discussion about CEO coaches a lot, and I like the idea of a good CEO coach. Um, I think there are some great CEO coaches, but you do run into the issue, whether they're offensive or defensive minded guys, of their coordinators either get poached or don't work. They constantly have to flip through coordinators unless you're lucky enough to land on a Ben Johnson for 4 years. But then look what happened this year. Um, Sirianni is a guy. Nick Sirianni. I don't know how much experience he had. I think he still had more than 3 years. 4 years if you're being generous to Davis Webb. And they've had a different offensive coordinator like every year for the past 4 or 5 years, and it's been like one will do so well, they get hired. The next year it won't work out, they get fired. The next year so well, they get hired as a head coach, and then next one fired. It's like it's a roller coaster, man. Um, that doesn't sound like the idea of hiring an innovative offensive coach. I think is someone that's calling plays, and if he's not going to be calling plays, well, all right. So now we have to think more about the fit of who he's bringing in to run the offense. Cliff Kingsbury running the offense. I think Cliff Kingsbury is a good offensive coordinator. I don't know that he's ever shown though that a guy like Fernando Mendoza fits his scheme. I think the crazy rumors of trading for Lamar Jackson would fit his scheme. And as much as I love Lamar, he's my favorite quarterback in the NFL. I've loved him since he was coming out of Louisville. I loved that whole scouting process. His interview during his first training camp. I watched that interview and how detailed he was, and I went, "This dude is going to be a future MVP quarterback. This guy is going to be special." And I was right. It's definitely a hit for me. But he's 30 years old. I mean, maybe if you're getting him and a first back for the number one overall pick, maybe. But I'd probably rather like get the quarterback on the rookie contract so you can take you. We're rebuilt. We're rebuilding, right? So you get a quarterback on a rookie contract. We need all the picks we can get. We need all the cap space we can get to build this the right way. That's not building it the right way as much as I like Lamar Jackson. So if Cliff isn't a great fit, and then even let's say he has a good year, I bet you one more good year as a OC, he gets another coaching gig. I bet you Brian Dable, maybe you get a couple of years, 2-3 years out of, but he might even get the Bills job. That doesn't that doesn't sound like the innovative offensive mind. And then if we want to talk CEOs, this gives me a lot of parallels to like a couple years ago. I heard so many Raiders fans talk about how they didn't think Antonio Pierce was qualified enough to be a head coach. And because he'd been a high school head coach, college linebackers coach, and assistant head coach, linebacker coach for us, interim head coach, and he just wasn't ready. But what we liked about him was the leadership he showed with the locker room, the way players responded to him, et cetera, et cetera. But he was going to be more of a CEO coach. He wasn't going to be running his own schemes or his own defense, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm not saying they're one-for-one parallels, but like if Antonio Pierce wasn't qualified as a 9-year veteran NFL player who won a Super Bowl, who is a defensive captain, who coached for multiple years, way more than 3, maybe more than 4, had been a head coach on some level, had coached on 3 different levels, and had a winning record both as a high school head coach and a interim head coach for us. If that guy's not qualified, then how is Davis Webb? And again, I'm not saying they're one-for-one parallels. I know there's some slightly different things about the situation. I know Davis Webb has some more recent connections. I know Davis Webb got out of the league more recently. He's a quarterback. He's an offensive mind. Antonio Pierce was a middle linebacker and a defensive-minded guy. But if they're CEO coaches, like, does it really matter that much? Again, I actually think Davis Webb could be a really good coach one day. I would be stoked if he was going to come in and be our offensive coordinator. Calling plays or not, I think he's only called plays for one game, a preseason game. He hasn't called plays yet. I want to see what he looks like calling plays, drawing up his own offense, designing his own offense. What does he do designing an offense for what we have? And then he can parlay that into a job. It's not in my top 5, but when I did my rankings, I talked about Vance Joseph. If Vance Joseph came over with Davis Webb as offensive coordinator year 1, I'd be a lot more excited about that. I just don't think he's ready. I think it's crazy to think he's ready. And even crazier is I've heard people talk about Davis Webb like being part of why, oh, look how Mahomes did while Davis Webb was there in the room with them. Look how much better he got. Look how much better Josh Allen got when he was there. Look how much better the Daniel Jones one. If you want to give him some credit for Daniel Jones, sure. I think that has more to do with the rooms he was in. Like he was under Cliff Kingsbury, who's proven that he can work well with quarterbacks and design quarterback-friendly offense. Brian Dable is noted for being a quarterback guru. Yeah, I think that guy gets the credit. I don't think you give Davis Webb. If you want to say, hey, he has been his whole career coached by quarterback and offensive gurus and geniuses, and he's been developing under Sean Payton the past 3 years after having been coached by Dable and have been coached by Kingsbury. Hey, I've never been in an NFL locker room. Someone that has can maybe correct me of saying, oh yeah, no, your backups are part of your development. And I guess competition can be part of the development, but I think that goes more to the guys that were coaching. And the last thing I'm going to talk about is coaching tree. If we're talking about guys that seem like they're unseasoned, maybe a little early, I think the trees that have shown success of that have been the Shanahan, the McVay tree. I'd have to think about it really hard. I don't think I don't think Sean Payton has a big tree. I think the feather in his cap is Dan Campbell, who is also a position coach. But Dan Campbell was a position coach for at least 8 or 9 years. He'd been an assistant head coach. He'd been an interim head coach. Like, Dan Campbell had sat and got to learn how to coach longer in that position coach role. And again, he's a CEO type of head coach. As much as I love Dan Campbell, and I would love to have Dan Campbell as a head coach, Dan Campbell himself would have told you during his time in Miami after the interim job, he wasn't ready to be a head coach yet. He needed more time. He needed more time to develop as a coach. Aaron Glenn is another person off the top of my head. It's early in the process, but I didn't like him as much as a coordinator as everyone else did. And year one wasn't great. If I'm missing some people that are good head coaches from his tree, let me know. But I can't think of a lot. So it just feels too boom or bust for me. It feels like there are a lot of candidates that are better candidates. When I did my rankings, I had them second to last for a reason. Now, if we're adding Dable, I'd probably put him above Dable or neck and neck with Dable. I would love to have Dable as an offensive coordinator. I don't like the volatility with his staff that he had the past few years and some of his decision making, and he was not great at feeding his star players. I don't know. I didn't love what I watched of Giants football, especially the past few years, and I think he deserves some of the blame for the culture he developed there. So I don't want him. I don't want Dable. So Davis Webb, I'd probably put ahead of Dable. But there's a reason. It's too early. It's too risky. It's too boom or bust. He hasn't proven it. If you take the big swing and you hit, that's great. But name me one other coach in the modern era. Let's go back just to 1990 to be friendly, but really football changes so much every 10 years. That had 3 total years of coaching experience and was a successful head coach. If you can give me 3, then I'll do a video. I'll apologize on my next video for being wrong. But I can't think of one. It would be a historic outlier. And I would prefer not to bet on a historic outlier. As an offensive coordinator, wonderful. If he had gotten a year to be an offensive coordinator and call plays and really showed he can do that, wonderful. I think this is more likely to be Lane Kiffin than it is to be Sean McVay. More likely. Hey, doesn't mean he could be successful. I'm not trying to say that there's no way Davis Webb can be a good head coach. I just think it's unlikely. It would be an outlier. I did a whole video about how many guys I'd rather have. So please, Raider Nation, please, Raiders, let's not bring in Davis Webb to be head coach. Let's make the focus Clint Kubiak. And if not Clint Kubiak, I'd rather have a Mike McDaniel. I'd rather have a Joe Brady. There's so many guys that I think have shown they've earned the opportunity more. They've earned it, and he hasn't earned it yet. He hasn't proven that he's earned it yet. This would be like hiring Phillip Rivers, but at least Phillip Rivers was a successful 14-year quarterback that I still would hate that hire, but you get my drift. All right, so that's going to end my video for today. I would like to do some content over the next couple days about Shrine Bowl standouts, and we have the Senior Bowl coming up in, I believe, a week or so too. There's some players I'm really excited to talk about that have been doing great in Shrine Bowl practices. I'll also do reviews. I didn't get to really pay attention to the Hula Bowl or the American Bowl, but I'll go over all of the prospects that have been doing work and standing out, and some of the ones that haven't been standing out in the All-Star games. Again, my name is Dirty D from Dirty T. If you like what I had to say, please drop a like, subscribe, become a punk rock raider yourself. I believe in healthy discourse. If you disagree with me on Davis Webb and you think there are things I'm not giving enough credit for, why it would be a great hire, hey, comment, discuss, let me know. Let's have some discourse here. I love discourse. I will definitely talk about what goes on after these games today. We should have a really clear picture of what the head coaching search is going to look like tomorrow. Um, but I'm signing off. Raiders. Fuck the fucking donkeys, man. Let's go. As much as I hate to say it, let's go Patriots tonight. Let's go Rams. Cheers.